Legend of Mare-Do-Well by JG2K. Angel Bunny was not a very happy rabbit. Despite being glad Fluttershy left the college to go socialize with her friends, there was a party some honor of the blue pony that barged into the bathroom earlier in the day while she was sleeping. She was unable to take Gummy with her and to bring back Pinkie Pie. Of all the pets the kind Pegasus is taken care of, Gummy was the most difficult to deal with, and Angel found keeping the chair standing still and not wandering off a troublesome chore. The bunny swore Fluttershy would owe him a huge favor in exchange for all his grief. As Angel chased after the troublesome reptile, his ears suddenly picked up an unusual noise. He looked around him and became frozen in shock. Standing before him was an animal that most definitely wasn't a pet, and certainly wasn't of Everfree. It looked like a wolf, but was walking upright on its hind legs. Was as tall as the cottage, and its front paws seemed less like an animal's, with 5 fingers, clean thumbs, and very sharp claws. Around its neck was a metal collar with some sort of black crystal in the center. A werewolf. The monster laid its piercing amber eyes on Angel and scowled. The rabbit, however, lost his fear and looked at the werewolf clutching its leg. The lycanthrope merely looked down in annoyance at the pest and kicked him off its leg and sent him flying. Lucky for the bunny, his fall was muffled by landing on the right person nearby. Angel had the wind knocked out of him and continued to lose consciousness. The last thing he saw was the werewolf picking up Gummy in his enormous hand, and he passed out.
No, no, you're not giving up. You have to find him. You have to. You must. You should.
Pinkie Pie pleaded through her bloodshot eyes for crying so much as she stood on top of a desk, staring into the face of the policeman she was talking to. It didn't help matters her mane and tail were no longer their curly form, but rather their non-cheerful straight smile.
Please, Miss Pinkie Pie, we're doing everything we can.
Lieutenant Buckle replied calmly. We've been investigating all known leads, had several police officers searching the nearby areas, and found not a clue to your missing pet. As a pony of interest, being one of the elements of harmony under protection of the princesses, we will keep searching, and the case will remain open. We're working on it. Pinkie sniffled as he got down from the desk and shambled away. She turned around to stare sadly at the lieutenant.
Gummy means the world to me. His cute little face brings a smile to me. You have to find him,
she said solemnly. Buckler merely nodded, and Pinkie walked away. Ponyville was indeed a sad place since the disappearance of Gummy. Citizens who were used to Pinkie Pie's funky, happy-go-lucky nature were quick to notice how much she meant to them since she stopped smiling, singing, or even throwing parties. On every empty wall, nothing but hoof-drawn gradient posters were placed everywhere, each having a crayon-drawn image of the cute baby alligator with reading, "Missing. If found, contact Pinkie Pie to Cute Corner. Reward is party fit for the princesses and eternal laughter."
Land sakes. I thought I'd never see Ponyville so down the mouth of my life.
Sure is bad, no sitting. Applejack mused as she and the others sat together for their weekly luncheon.
Never realized how much joy Pinkie brought to Ponyville until right now. Here I thought her actions were just because of her nature,
Twilight added glumly.
So Rainbow Dawes, how has the search for Gummy fared? Any signs of the alligator?
Verity asked the speedster.
No dice rare. A few of the Pegasi officers and yours truly have done nothing but flybys at Everfree for the past 2 weeks. We didn't even pay a trace to the Cumster. The mayor's been pretty mad that I've neglected the weatherman she's doing while I've neglected the cloud kicker at Ditzy,
Daz replied. No offense, Sugar Cube, but the mayor's always been on your case since you're too busy sleeping all the time, giving your duties to others. The farm pony added, as the others chuckled a bit. Except Fluttershy, looked even more miserable than the others, serving to dampen the mood once more.
I wish I was there. When I arrived at the party, I saw poor Angel hurt and my back fence all broken. Then I saw those large prints on the mud and I got scared too. So I took Angel inside to nurse him back to health. Didn't even think of looking for Gummy.
Fluttershy whispered, tears formed in her eyes. She finally buried her head between her forelegs and sobbed.
Pinkie must think I'm the worst friend in the entire world. I failed her.
The others were ready to comfort her when they all suddenly gasped. A hoof was placed on Fluttershy's foreleg. The yellow Pegasus looked up to see the straight mane, draped face of Pinkie Pie stare up at her. Her expression on her face was one of unusual calmness.
Fluttershy, don't blame yourself. Blame the rotten son of a broodmare who stole him. Whoever he was, he'll regret taking my gummy.
She said in a low voice as she walked away. The others were scared. Pinkie was never one to swear at any pony, and seeing her like that made things worse. They looked down at their half-eaten lunches and quickly lost their appetite. They immediately asked for takeout boxes, paid their bits, and left.
Good morning, afternoon, Angel.
Fluttershy said as he set foot in their cottage. She looked at the direction of her comfy couch and saw Angel Bunny there, bandages over his head, stomach, and right hind leg, resting on a basket as he recovered from his ordeal. She placed the restaurant's takeout box on the ground and used her wings to remove her saddlebags from the back. She walked over to her recovering patient and saw him weakly open one of his eyes.
How are you feeling today? Oh, I hope you get better soon. You have to tell me all about the bad meals you took gummy.
She sighed sadly as she went over to her kitchen to pick up a bowl with a rabbit's face motif around the receptacle.
Today's your lucky day. I have finished eating my vegetable stew at lunch today, so I'm thinking you can take it. I'm not really that hungry.
She said with a hidden cheer. Angel looked up at her, unable to frown or act finicky. Then again, he was at her mercy, and he was glad she was taking care of him. Their joy, however, was about to take a turn for the worse. As Fluttershy walked back near the entrance to pick up the takeout box and place the stew in the bowl for Angel, a powerful force blew the door apart and sent the yellow Pegasus flying across the room to land on her couch. She looked up and gasped in terror as she saw an enormous gray furry hand with large claws recede from the door, only to be used for something far more terrifying to take its place. A fearsome face with amber eyes, dark gray fur, a long snout, rows of sharp fangs, and a metal collar with black gem on its neck. Angel grinned as he saw the werewolf that injured him, and took Gummy away in return. Fluttershy looked at her rabbit companion, and deduced from his look of terror that this was the same beast responsible for the actions that night. Fluttershy was paralyzed by the sudden arrival of this newcomer, as his amber eyes looked everywhere, and set its sight on the trembling Pegasus. The animal growled at once as it lunged its hands forward, destroying the entire front facade of her cottage to grab the defenseless pony. She screamed out in fright as the werewolf took her in his paw and began to move its arm back inside. The fear soon overtook her completely as he fainted away. As the werewolf walked away with slow, thundering steps, was unable to see a flash, followed by a rainbow tail headed square in the muzzle. The monster let out a howl of pain and bared its fangs in the direction of the rainbow trail's source to see the defiant form of Rainbow Dash hovering overhead.
You, Dogface! Put down my friend and tell me where you took Gummy. I'll go wipe the floor with you.
She sounded angrily. The creature replied with an earth-shattering howl as it dropped Fluttershy nearby and prepared itself to fight.
Oh yeah, time to take this mutt to a skull,
she declared as he slipped down for another assault. The creature may have had the advantage of size and strength at its disposal, but its opponent was much smaller and faster, and that made it harder to strike as she dived right into its face and body, causing it to harm. She had to be stopped. Timing its reflexes just right, the werewolf managed to strike Rainbow Dash and sent her careening into a tree nearby. The Pegasus winced in pain, but quickly recovered when she saw the lumbering form of the monster pounce. She quickly rolled away from the strike, allowing her wings to be facing upward once more. It took off.
More trouble than I thought. Guess I'll have to use my new move on you after all. Prepare to feel the rainbow,
she said as he flew upward like a bolt. Stopping when she was at an appropriate attitude, she looked down and stared her eyes down at the werewolf that stared up at her, waiting for her to make the next move. Grinning fearlessly, she tucked her forelegs forward and began her descent. Faster and faster, she began to feel crackling of electricity near in front of her forelegs. She gritted her teeth as skin began to flap against the limits of acceleration she was pushing. That was when she saw the arrow appear in front of her, become sharper and sharper with each second. She spun forward in a burst of power as he broke the sound barrier with a loud explosion, and a rainbow-colored wave was expelled from the point of impact. The sonic rain boom was achieved once more. Using the power of the rain boom right behind her, As he got their sights on the werewolf, who became fascinated by the colorful display it witnessed, and charged it head on. With the strange dreams he received back in the Young Flyers competition, he managed to push and lift the werewolf into the air, with the creature whimpering, unsure of what was about to happen. Rainbow Dash grinned as he immediately curved her rainbow-fueled flight, flowing with a beautiful rainbow arc, made of multicolored fire, began to descend once more, with the werewolf whining in fear of his life as he approached a grassy field a few miles away from the cottage. Rainbow Dash increased her speed as another limit of acceleration was about to be broken, only this time having an unwilling guest along for the ride. The silence of the countryside was quickly shattered by the explosion of titanic proportions as a rainbow-hued mushroom cloud flew over to the sky, followed by another rainbow shockwave, sinking to ground as it arced away from the main point it struck. At ground zero, a large crater was formed from the impact of the monster on the ground at beyond supersonic speed. Rainbow Dash groggily managed to get up and took long deep breaths as her cyan coat was dirty with soot and dirt. Her colorful mane and tail were singed and standing upright. Below her was what remained of the werewolf. The creature had no chance to survive. The tremendous force of Rainbow Dash's deadly attack, and only a burnt, smoky carcass remained, while the metal collar was now a pile of slag, crystal disintegrated to dust. Rainbow Dash sat near the edge of the crater and took a deep sigh.
Great. I still kept it alive for it to tell me where Gummy got taken.
Smooth move, Dash, she muttered to herself. She looked down at the center of the crater where the dead werewolf laid, and suddenly noticed a shadow looming over it. Rainbow Dash was too tired to notice this large scaly tail appearing behind her until it was too late. She turned around and screamed as the large, dark green and black spectacled tail wrapped itself around her body and started to crush her. As she struggled to free herself, she took a good look at the new assailant. Scaly was the defining word as she was looking for. Nothing but scales and hues of dark green and black specks adorned the body of this animal. Its lower body was definitely the tail that was currently putting the squeeze on her, but its upper body was less animal, and more like the werewolf with a strong muscled chest, 2 arms with hands handling its sharp claws, and its head was squat and reptilian with dark green eyes, with slit pupils and large frilled ears. Just like the werewolf, it too wore a collar on the black crystal around its neck. The monster opened its mouth in a loud hiss, feeling its sharp fangs and a large flap of skin and reminiscent of a hood, a naga. Rainbow Dash felt nothing but agonizing pain, and cried out as the naga's tail kept squeezing her with increasing force. She tried to pound the tail with her hooves without any success as the grip came tighter. Crack! Just like that, Rainbow Dash lost the feeling in the back legs and tail. She stopped right where she was as her entire front body trembled. One last tear fell from her eye and she lost consciousness right there. The naga flicked his slit tongue as he tasted the drop of the victim's head. He opened his mouth with a loud hiss, ready to swallow the Ponyville whole, when a sharp flying kick hit it square in the jaw and released Rainbow Dash. The naga shook off his attack and focused his eyes on the beholder. Mare-Do-Well stood there, looking up with a sharp gaze of fury. She heard the first sonic rain boom and saw the colorful mushroom clouds a few seconds later. No doubt the rest of the Ponyville police force would be on its way, so she wanted first dibs on whoever it was that Dash was desperate enough to use one of her strongest attacks on. There, she stood face to face with a naga. However, according to Twilight's books about known Everfree denizens, nagas were known to reach the size of at least 2 full-grown stallions. The naga was at least twice that amount, making Vigilante look like the size of a mouse compared to the creature. Something was not right. This naga was not natural. She had to find out why. First, however, she had to avoid its offensive before she became its lunch. The naga went all out on Mare-Do-Well as it swiped down with its sharp clawed hands, lunged forward with its head in an attempt to bite her, and even swinging its tail out in hopes that it would end up trapped in its coils, just like Rainbow Dash was. The Vigilante was able to read the creature's attacks, thanks to her alternate self sense, and moved accordingly to avoid being slashed, bit, or ensnared. She waited for the moment the scaly monster lunged down with its head to jump up in the air and land on top of its head. Once there, the flash of skin making up the Naga's cobra-like hood as best of her hoods man's and held on tight. The Naga became furious and hissed angrily as it was unable to tell just where the top of Mare-Do-Well was. The masked pony jerked hard on the hood skin, and the snake beast hissed in pain at being grabbed at such a tender location. The monster became furious as it did its best to dislodge the bothersome pony from its head. It started to wriggle its body, swing its head, and lift up into the air, and other sudden quick movements, and the hopes of vigilante would get thrown out. She managed to stay on with the tenacity to make any rodeo pony proud. Ride ended, however, when the Naga flipped on its back, and Mare-Do-Well quickly jumped off before she could be crushed between the beast's head and the ground below. That split-second miscalculation was more than enough to give the Naga a second wind, and as the kit Mare-Do-Well in its scaly hand. The creature managed to laugh in a whispery tone as it held its meal in its paw. The vigilante thrashed to free herself from its clutch, but the monster was ready. Looking right at her, its eyes began to cast a hypnotic gaze on her. Mare-Do-Well was unable to resist, as he looked right into the psychedelic eyes of the Naga, and soon stopped her struggle. The monster didn't open up his hand as expected. Mare-Do-Well was entranced, unable to run away. She was a sitting duck. Just before the monster could lunge forward and make her its meal, it suddenly dropped her on the ground. The Naga started to hiss in agony. It used both its hands to hold the side of his head, as though it received a nasty headache, while the crystal on its collar began to shimmer in an eerie light. The monster then looked to the side to see another Naga just like it, the same color, coming in the direction of the cottage, as it held a small yellow figure in its hand. The first Naga neighed its steel-dazed Mare-Do-Well, scowled angrily as it retreated, soon joined up with its partner, and both slithered into the Everfree. Finally, the hypnotic spell dissipated, and Mare-Do-Well regained her senses. All she could remember was looking at the Naga, only to hypnotize her, and now it was gone. She didn't know how exactly she managed to stay alive, but she swore her mistake would never be repeated again. She then saw several police Pegasi flying overhead, with the rest of the force galloping straight towards the crater where Rainbow Dash and the dead werewolf's body was located. They cued her exit. Somehow, that werewolf and Naga were related to the disappearance of Gummy. She swore she'd find the truth. First I woke up with a shriek. She then saw she was not in her cottage, or any place familiar to her for that matter. It looked like a simple bedroom devoid of most luxuries. The walls were made of hoof-carved stone, and its ground seemed to be made of solid cement. The only furniture in this room was the bed she was sleeping on, and a small chest of drawers nearby. A door was located at the far end of the room, and the Pegasus decided to get out of the strange place, wherever or whatever it was. She grabbed the door handle in her teeth, and found the door locked. Panic overtook her as she pounded the door, and even gave it a few kicks hoping she could break it down. However, she wasn't known for her physical prowess, and the kick felt more like a tiptoe against the solid wood of the door.
Miss Fluttershy, I presume?
The Pegasus froze in her tracks as she darted her head everywhere, wondering where the voice had come from.
Who are you? Why am I here? Please let me go, please.
She whispered softly.
I inform you, your departure is not part of the itinerary.
The soft voice said, still unknown to where it came from.
Consider yourself at a guest at my expense, my dear filly. I shall have my servants summon you to me for a nightly repast. Until then, please rest. Ta-ta.
Please, sir. Are you a sir? Just let me go.
Fluttershy pleaded again. No answer. The filly began to shake as she had no idea what was going to happen to her. Maybe meeting the voice in person would be the best. Perhaps she could convince whoever it was that talked to her to let her go. There was no other way. Walking back to the bed, she lay down on it, curled up into a ball, and tried to sleep.
How is she, Doctor?
Twilight Sparkle asked, as she and her friend stood in front of the operating room. The unicorn doctor lowered his face back and sighed.
It looked very bad when it was brought to us.
Worse than a broken wing last time. I'm afraid 8 of her ribs were broken, along with some heavy damage to her vertebra, especially the lumbar ones. Every pony in the room became morose. Then the doctor smiled as he continued. However, she was lucky that whatever force broke her back did sever her spinal cord, or else she would never be able to fly or walk again.
Luck continued to smile as we had a couple of respected citizens from Manhattan and Baltimore visiting the hospital today, and they both agreed to help, knowing full well there was an element of harmony being operated on. I am happy to say that she is definitely going to pull through.
What made all the ponies breathe a sigh of relief, except for the still straight-haired Pinkie Pie, who was staring outside the window. It was after the police sent Rainbow Dash to the hospital and the strange werewolf carcass to Canterlot for analysis that every pony received the terrible news that Fluttershy was missing. Pinkie knew immediately that the same perps who were behind Gummy's disappearance were also the ones responsible for both the full-napping the yellow Pegasus and sending those yellow monsters. Now even more she wanted to find them and make them pay. The trouble was she had no leads. The police had their hopes tied and the Everfree Forest was mostly uncharted. She was desperate, but didn't even want to start in without a course of action. All she could do now was stew and anger at the current events. The doctor placed his mask over his face and went back to the operating room. Rarity was soon reading a magazine, while Applejack merely paced around and waiting for it impatiently. Fly Sparkle walked up to Pinkie at the window to keep her company.
Pinkie, don't beat yourself up about this. You did what you could.
The purple unicorn explained.
No, Twilight, I didn't.
The solid pink pony replied.
Gummy is still missing, and now I got Fluttershy too. I'll not be calm until they're both safe and sound back at Ponyville. I wish I knew where to go in Everfree. But when I do, not even Celestia herself can stop me from bringing them back.
Twilight gulped. She really felt uneasy during Pinkie's rare bouts of pure seriousness. Wished she would go back to her cheerful, smiling personality soon. Suddenly, the door to the waiting room opened and Spike ran inside.
Twilight! Twilight! I got...
Spike yelled, only to be silenced by the nurse on duty. She had pointed to the side of an image with its mouth open and a large red X over it. Spike nodded in understanding.
Twilight, I got news for Canterlot.
The dragon whispered softly enough for the unicorn and her pink companion to hear.
Princess Celestia sent me a letter a few minutes ago. It told me she was going to send a letter directly to you. So I had to hurry over here and...
Spike didn't finish the seal as he was saying, as he belched out a plume of green flame, followed by a sealed scroll with Celestia's seal on it. The young Drake unfurled the scroll, as Twilight, Pinkie, Rarity, and Applejack all looked close to hear what the princess had to say.
My dear Twilight, I have some unsettling news to inform you.
The royal scholars finished analyzing the werewolf body that was delivered a few hours ago,
and came to the same conclusion. The beast was experimented on.
Normal werewolves are just a few feet taller than myself, but this one was nearly twice the normal size. Further analysis showed the muscle mass, while burned beyond proper investigation, was greatly increased as well as sharper claws. All points lead to believe some ponies experimenting with Everfree creatures without proper jurisdiction. We would have analyzed this body much further, but unfortunately our foremost expert on biology for the Royal Academy, despite having been banished for his unsound theories and inhumane experience, has gone missing, and any artistic content has led us to dead ends. We are worried he could be responsible for this. If he is, then all of Equestria is in grave danger. It is up to the elements of harmony to find him as quickly as possible. This is not a royal decree, but rather a favor from teacher to student. Princess Celestia.
Twilight,
Who's this expert the brains is talking about? Applejack asked her. The pupil sighed sadly.
Dr. Calabalis. Calabalis? That name doesn't sound quite so fancy, darling. Do tell us more about him,
said Rarity. Twilight began her explanation. Dr. Calabalis was my teacher for only one term. He was one of the most acclaimed surgeons in Canterlot history. His name was even engraved in the Royal Hospital's Hall of Fame. He then took a teaching job at the academy where he taught biology and was considered one of the most brilliant minds in the field. He was respected. He was admired. He was highly venerated by even Princess Celestia. I don't like the sound of this Calabalis guy being talked in the past tense, muttered the dragon assistant. Twilight sighed and resumed. During his last term in the academy, he began to break the syllabus that the scholars demanded be taught, and began to lecture the students on his biological theories. He was convinced that all ponies had the capacity to go beyond the environment they lived in, which should not be divided into the system of Earth Pony, Unicorn, and Pegasus, when they could all be created equally. In fact,
He could prove to the world that ponies had the ability to go beyond the limits and be able to benefit from all the powers each pony type has. The strength of the earth ponies, magic of the unicorns, and fight capabilities of the pegasi. Needless to say, some students informed him that the only one who had the ability was princesses, and that ponies couldn't be forced to evolve. Dr. Cabales declared straight out every pony in the world that had the ability to evolve to a higher state of existence beyond that of a princess. This outburst sent him to the Academy's disciplinary committee, and they immediately stripped him for teaching duty. Things went bad from worse from after that. Despite being unable to teach, he was still allowed to work in the laboratories. He began to gather subjects and volunteers to help him in his research. His research, however, was one straight out of the pits of Tartarus itself. Several voluntary specimens were irreversibly traumatized, told stories of Calabas actually trying to force pony evolution by any means possible. I can't go on. Some of those things he mentioned are too horrifying to speak of. Every pony, however, was listening to every word, and Twilight gulped as she had no choice. She began to relate accounts of how the broken ponies and how their lives were ruined by Calabasas' insane experiments, especially those involving horn and wing transplants from very unwilling donors. Applejack could only look on in stunned silence, unable to believe her ears. Rarity shook her head as she tried to keep a mantra of sanity that such a monster didn't exist. Spike, however, took it worse as he began to get queasy and immediately went straight to the restroom as he kept his hands over his bulging mouth. Pinkie Pie stood firm and serious throughout it all. An ever-present feeling in her mind told her that this mad doctor was responsible for what had happened. The feeling was suddenly replaced by an aura of dread, and her face showed worry for the first time since Gummy's disappearance. If this Dr. Calabas wanted to avoid advanced pony biology. Twilight, I'm sorry you didn't tell us this here Calabas vermin when we were sleeping over at your house last year. And I don't think I'd be able to sleep in the dark knowing a monster like that existed. Applejack managed to say. Darling, my heart goes out to those poor souls this uncivilized stallion is harmed. I only hope all his former accolades were expunged due to his disgraceful acts, Reggie said with a huff. They were. His name has only been in one Hall of Fame, to be forcibly burned beyond recognition, and his contributions to biology were purged from the Canterlot archives. As far as Equestria is concerned, he's nothing more than an outcast. So, kudos. Friend of yours?
No. When my name is written in history books, it will be remembered.
Ugh. Spike uttered as he returned to the group of ponies that were using the restroom. So where do you suppose we'll find him? The princess says his current whereabouts are completely unknown. Twilight nodded in agreement. I know, Spike, but every second we waste, Fluttershy could be in danger. Rainbow Dash will get better soon, so it's all up to us to investigate and find out where Calabas is, right, Pink? All the mares in the window looked out and saw that the pink pony had vanished. Fluttershy awoke to hear the door unlock and open up. She looked up in fear and squeaked as she saw another werewolf, with a metal collar on its neck, stand there by the door. This one, however, was more normal size compared to the monstrosity that wrecked her cottage, but was still a sight to be feared. Fluttershy didn't try to make any sudden moves, for she thought the creature would attack. Strangely, it didn't move. It just stood there gazing at her with a cross look. To make Pegasus didn't feel like moving at all in fear she would get attacked, until the werewolf gave her a low growl and pointed with its snout to the passage outside the door. Fluttershy nodded her head with a slight tremble and jumped off the bed. She trembled and took slow steps, which caused the lycanthrope to give her a sharp bark. She squeaked in surprise and shot off like a rocket out the door.
Ah, wonderful. You have chosen to come out.
It was the same voice as before. Fluttershy was too scared by her surroundings to question how it was communicating at her.
Just follow the light ahead of you, and you'll reach the dining hall. I have been expecting you.
Fluttershy gulped as he paced towards the shining light at the end of the hallway, as the voice commanded. Getting closer and closer, her eyes ever so slightly due to the bright lights ahead, until she set foot in the new arena. This room had some sort of dining area, if the term could be applied. There was a long table for ponies to eat there, that was certain. But the rest of the area was just as empty as the room she was sleeping in. Stone-cold walls with torches providing illumination.
cement floor below her hose, and no ornaments of furniture of any kind whatsoever. This place started to feel more and more like a dungeon, and Fluttershy was unnerved by all this. Miss Fluttershy, so good of you to join me, said a familiar voice in the direction of the far end of the table. She approached for a closer look, and stopped in her tracks with a gasp when she saw the voice's owner. A tall unicorn stallion lay there before her eyes, with a coat colored cobalt blue and dark grayish-green eyes. His mane was a dark russet hue, and combed over in an old-fashioned gentlecoat's dandy style, while a part made down the right side of his head. A thick handlebar mustache, also colored dark russet, was handled, and waxed with utmost care, gave the stallion a dapper appearance that was rather further accentuated by the monocle worn on his left eye. He was dressed rather casually in a lab coat, with a slightly dirty white dress shirt underneath and topped with a black tie. A key mark displayed prominently on his flank was a symbol Fluttershy had never seen before in her life. It looked like some kind of ladder that was constantly twisted and spiraled in place. Its vertical supports were a bright blue of hue of orange, while the rungs of its strange ladder appeared to have one half each step a shade of dark blue and the other half a dark red. Upon looking closer, he reminded her somewhat of the salt bar she saw briefly during her stay in Appaloosa. Despite his eyes looking at her seriously, the unicorn smiled at her, and this made her very nervous. Don't be bashful, my dear. Please, sit down beside me. Our repast will approach post-haste. He spoke in a genteel accent, and clapped his foreheads together twice.
Um, Thank you, sir. I would really like to go home now. Please. So if you don't mind, can I please leave?
She replied weakly. Leave? Paris, a thought, my dear. He answered with a start. Besides, I require you for something very important.
Oh, sir, I don't really need you.
Doctor. Fluttershy's mane flustered in confusion.
Excuse me?
The monocle stallion nodded once. I am a doctor, not a sir. I am Dr. Calabas, a renowned scholar of biology and anatomy, looking to unlock the mysteries of life. That is who I am. Ah, here comes our sustenance. Fluttershy turned around, promptly screamed and dove under the table. Appearing from another hallway, a regular-sized Naga, wearing a cook's hat apron and same metallic collar as all the others on his neck, slithered in, holding 2 platters in his scaly hand. Without a sound, he placed the 2 platters in front of the stallion in the frightened little pony. Good. Now go back and wait for my command, Dr. Calabas ordered, and the Naga nodded once before slithering away. Fluttershy slowly peeked down from her hiding place, breathed a sigh of relief as the creature was gone.
Who was that? I never seen a Naga so up close and lived to actually see one.
She whimpered. The monocle doctor really waved a hoof and laughed. Ah, yes. The chef may be quite tactile at last, but he certainly has a way around the kitchen. He then placed his hose together and gave a stern look towards the hallway the Naga chef slithered into. Or should I hope, after the conditioning he has undergone? Fluttershy gulped once.
Conditioning?
Dr. Calabas turned to face his guest as a smile lit his face again. Oh, but it's of no concern. Our sustenance is here. Let us partake of it, shall we? He then activated his horn with an eerie dark blue glow as he lifted the lids and revealed 2 elaborately made salads. The Pegasus' wings flared up in surprise.
Oh my! Le Sherpa c'est le magnifique, fantastique salade royale. I read about this when trying to make salads for Angel Bunny, but I couldn't make it because most of the ingredients are so rare and expensive. This was declared the most delicious and rarest salad in all of Equestria. The only nearest serving at this dish was for Princess's millennial celebration.
Yarn chuckled as he used his magic to lift the monocle out of his eye to clean it. It is of no consequence for a stallion, my standing. He quickly placed the monocle back in his eye. Now go ahead, tuck in. Fluttershy leaned in close and marveled at the sight before her. She took a bite of a leaf of golden lettuce for the first time in her life. Her eyes glazed over in joy as she began to eat heartily. This was her first time eating the rarest lettuce, only grown in the most obscure gardens, and the standard fare for extremely rich ponies. She began to nibble on the other ingredients in the salad, like heart-shaped tomato slices, rare white escole and dive, and very special carrots from Saddle Arabia, only known to give the stallions and ponies in the hot and arid climate the strength and stamina for their daily lives. The Pegasus enjoyed every single last bite of the salad of the gods. But pretty soon, the platters were empty. Dr. Calabas lifted a napkin with his magic to clean his lips. Fluttershy stood there, looking down at an empty plate, unsure how to thank this kind stranger for this rare delicacy. She finally eyed him timidly and spoke.
I don't know what to say. Thank you, doc.
Now then, you're wondering why my service brought you to me. Calabas interrupted to Fluttershy's amazement. Simply put, I need your help with some tests I'm conducting. She looked down with curiosity.
Tests?
The cobalt blue unicorn nodded. Quite. I have heard a lot about your unique abilities when it comes to animals.
I don't know what to say. Nobody's really asked me for tests involving my abilities.
Why, my dear, satisfy my whims and I'll make it worth it, Calabas stated. My research requires studies of ponies with unusual abilities beyond what nature itself asked. Ask yourself this. Why do I have the ability to talk with animals, both of the sky and land, if I'm a Pegasus pony? Have you not wondered why you have such a blessing that would be more in tune with magical unicorns or land-hoofed earth ponies? Once I frowned her brow and looked to the side. He was right. Why was her special talent communicating with at a deep emotional level with other animals? Curiosity got the best of her.
Very well, Doctor. Please test me. Listen to why I have my talent.
Splendid. If you can, let us begin the experiments now. Dr. Calabas said with a smile as he got up from his side of the table and walked out the other hallway. Fluttershy stayed put where she was, uncertain what these experiments would entail. Before she could fathom this, Dr. Calabas spoke up in the same disembodied form like he did earlier. Come along. We have experiments to do. Don't delay. The winged pony eat once and scurried off after him. Mare-Do-Well didn't waste any time leaving Ponyville and went straight to Sakura's hut. If anyone knew the Everfree Force's hidden secrets, she would. She was lucky she got the lead earlier when she did.
Hi there, Mr. P.
Pinkie Pie said with her mane and tail mysteriously back to their curly frizzled form as he set foot in the hospital's special patients' rec room. The brightly painted room was specially built by the board of directors so that ponies with special needs be given the proper recreational facilities without awkward interaction with the rest of the hospital's patients. It was served by a round-the-clock cadre of nurses who acted kindly towards these special patients, but also made their various afflictions didn't cause trouble for others. It was here that Pinkie Pie went to once she heard everything about Calabas from Twilight Sparkle. If anyone knew where the Mad Doctor would be hiding, a former test subject like the mentally regressed pony would know.
Pinkie Pie.
The green-coated Earth Pony exclaimed, now without his leather outfit, or tubes feeding whatever chemicals made him grow to monstrous proportions. As he got up from the table he was sharing with a strange blue-coated filly with an uncut grained mane, who panted with her tongue out and wagged her tail.
Mr. P, happy to see Pinkie Pie again. Pinkie Pie bring new games or toys for ponies and Mr. P to play with?
Oh no, you silly. I just want to know some things. I really need your help.
Pinkie Pie asked Mr. P help. What Mr. P do to help Pinkie Pie?
The pony replied with a curious look.
I heard from Mare-Do-Well that some big meaty doctor was the one who did this bad stuff to you.
Pinkie explained solemnly. Mr. P was immediately shot down his host and trembled with fear.
Doctor bad. Doctor punish Mr. P with room of spiders. Mr. P hates spiders. Mr. P hate them. Hate spiders. Hate spiders.
He started a mantra of hate spiders with ever-increasing decibels, and at the same time caused the rest of the patients to get out of control. The nurse quickly tried in and restored order. One of them looked at the pink pony in the eye. You got some nerve traumatizing this poor stallion. You better go if you don't want to be forbidden from entering here again. Pinkie Pie pleaded with her.
No, ma'am, please. I just need to know something and I'll leave him alone. Cause my heart, I'll defy, stick a cookie in my eye.
She ended with all the emotions of her promise. The nurse looked at her, then to the visibly sinking Mr. P, and finally back to her stern gaze. Very well. You further harass him, and out you go. She warned as she moved aside to allow Pinkie again to talk with Mr. P.
Please, Mr. P, this is very important. Do you remember anything about where that nasty doctor lives? Anything?
She said with a pleading look in her eyes. The mentally regressed stallion's purple eyes darted around in fear, but spoke.
Grilled, dark, scary, torches everywhere, rocks everywhere, real hard, tubes, electricity, funny liquids. Mr. P knew like doctor place.
The pink pony bit her lip. This was getting her nowhere.
How about outside? Do you know of anything in the places outside where the doctor lives?
Mr. P didn't look up, once in fear of remembering what little he had in his mind.
Houses, many outside doctor place, no ponies inside, lonely. Many trees no green, trees sharp, all ground black, no plants there. Fountain, no water. Fountain doctor place open.
Pinkie Pie took note of all this. She had one last question.
Well, Mr. P, in all this Everfree forest?
Green Stanley merely nodded his head. That's all Pinkie needed. She gave him a hug and nuzzled on his seat.
Thank you, Mr. P. Pinkie Pie promises he'll bring you some goodies to eat for chicken good quarter for all you did.
With that, Mr. P's face lit up as he stood up.
Yay. Pinkie Pie bring cookies and snacks. Mr. P happy. Mr. P wait. Thank you, Pinkie Pie.
He then began to dance with a happy hum as the nurse tried to calm him down. Pinkie happily skipped out the door, while Twilight and the rest of the elements were waiting outside.
Pinkie Pie, what did you do in there? Why did you run off?
The purple unicorn asked her with worry. As soon as the special patient rec room door was shut and no pony could see her, her smile faded and mane and tail went straight once more. She looked at her with a serious glare.
I have a lead to where he's hiding. I got to go.
Now, just hold on, darn planking minute, Tucker Cube.
Applejack said as she stood in front of the door, leading out the special patient's ward. Y'all ain't going in there like some maverick, bucking hose planes and crazy like. We are your friends, remember? I'm not moving an inch from this here door till you come to your senses and allow us to help you.
She's right, darling,
Rarity added as she stared her down best she could.
Whenever there was a threat, we always faced it together.
We would have trounced Nightmare Moon, Diamond Dogs, and Discord if we went our separate routes. Not hardly, darling.
We are the elements of harmony, and we shall be united.
Pinkie Pie snored once with disdain.
One of us is hospitalized, and the others is in the clutches of that maniac. The time is for actions now. Don't get out of my way and keep me from finding my gummy and frustrating Fluttershy, and you'll all be sorry.
She screeched as she paused the ground and charged head on. Applejack and Rarity merely stood their ground and placed their heads down in preparation for impact. Suddenly, a magenta-colored field of magic enveloped the two ponies, and magically teleported to the side of the room as Pinkie charged ahead, burst out the doors out the hospital. Twilight must have teleported them ahead. A good reason. Current mindset, Pinkie would have charged through them like a stampede, and they would be injured. She had no time to lose. She had to get to her outfit, and then straight for Everfree, as at once she could ask for directions to the area where Calabalis was hiding at. Mare-Do-Well threw open the hut's door with a bang, making Sakura jump a few feet in the air from fright.
You! If I was any matter, you would be cursed, but I'm not. So if you come in, knock first,
Zebra snapped in annoyance. Mare-Do-Well shook off her hat and mask, and revealed the stern, straight-maned face of Pinkie Pie. Sakura instantly this was new time for any subtleties.
I need your help, Sakura. You've been here for a long time, and so you explored every inch of this place better than any pony I know.
Pinkie explained with her stone face shining fiercely.
Is there any area here that has abandoned houses, dead trees on the ground, most importantly of all, a fountain?
Sakura's eyes looked at her sternly, devoid of formalities, as she turned around and went to her sleeping quarters. She then began to search for something through her belongings there as she spoke aloud.
Deed with an Everfree, even when the babies fear to tread. There is a forsaken settlement, a place where all life is dead. The ground is black and the trees are bare. Also many houses devoid of life are there. I found the area many moons ago, on a night where ill winds begin to blow. Despite the town abandoned and being all alone, the area gives me chills I felt down to the bone. I did recall with my eyes a beautiful fountain to my surprise. Truly a marvel of engineering work. Yet but I sensed great evil below it lurk. I departed without a moment to lose.
She then gasped. There he is.
Something you may pursue. The receiver holding a long scroll in her mouth and placed it on the table. Unfurled it and beckoned Pinkie close to her. He finally looked down at the scroll and saw a crudely made sketch. It was likely made by Sakura herself. The sketch showed what looked like to be the ruins of a town, broken houses, dead trees, and no plants on the ground. What caught her eye was the depiction of some kind of statue of 3 ponies, Earth Pony, Unicorn, and Pegasus to be precise, rearing up with her front legs in the air. When I returned from that dismal place, I picked up the brush and began to trace a depiction of the landscape I bore witness. A place of decay, as though it had sickness. I used to warn you to stay away, but your mind is set, so I shall tell you the way to this place in deeply cut. She sighed sadly and closed her eyes. Go beyond the remains of the castle within the forest deep, through a field of plants, and then a deep den where others sleep. Take a left, then a right, then a couple of lefts in the grove of fiery haze. Go straight down the final path. You shall find where the forsaken village lays. With determination, the pony pulled her back and placed her hand on her head. Mare-Do-Well turned around and walked to the door. Before she left, the deceiver called out, I warn you, hero, be of called mine. Your shoulders failed with anger, and you must leave that behind. Fail to heed these words so true. Mare-Do-Well had enough of the deceiver's cryptic rhymes, and just wrenched down as she slammed the door behind her. Sakura looked down at the sketch of the ruins on her table and sighed. Oh, there'll be catastrophe waiting for you. Go ahead, Miss Fluttershy, Dr. Calaballison said. Interact with the specimen, if you please. First I gulped as he padded closer to the werewolf. The beast was sitting down on the floor, too preoccupied with licking its left hand to notice the pony approach it. She didn't know why she was shut in with the chamber, with Calaballus standing safely in the other room, where he was able to see everything occur in this one through a sheet of glass. Ever since he followed him earlier, she was subjected to plenty of regular-looking procedure, more familiar to checkups she received at the Ponyville Clinic, the main hospital on the town's outskirts. Then the test became stranger, as he used a variety of spells and strange instruments to, according to him, analyze her brain patterns and gauge her inner magic mirror. The tests were strange even to her, and it scared her. Calaballus said he had one more test to conduct, and here she was, locked in a room with a werewolf that could tear her apart if she was so inclined. She felt a large lump in her throat, and she slowly made her way towards the creature, who was still too distracted licking its paw to see her. With one flick of its ears, however, it turned its gaze towards the intruder, and began to growl out fiercely at her. The pony froze in her tracks, and sweat began to form on her forehead. Was it going to strike? No. Its hind legs were firmly placed on the ground, and not in a position for a pounce. More than likely, this was a warning growl to stay away, rather than preparing to attack. She took a few steps back, and the werewolf went back to licking its hand. Without furrow, she realized it was far more interested in its hand than a possible meal. She once again took a step forward, and like her throat turned to face her and growl again. She then gave a warm smile.
There, there, Mr. Werewolf. I couldn't help but notice you were licking your paw. Now, why is that?
She said calmly as she began to get closer. The werewolf frowned as it turned its back on her and kept licking its hand while growling softly.
You know that's not really nice,
she scolded softly.
Be a good werewolf and tell me what's wrong with your hand. Pretty please.
The werewolf pouted as it kept its hand hidden, but Fluttershy's tender gaze and the doe-like eyes looked back out with nurturing warmth. The beast's cheeks softly began to redden despite scowling. It hung its head down and moved its hand to where the yellow Pegasus could see. She then gasped and cupped her hooves over her mouth in response to what appeared to be some nasty cuts along the back of his hand, and bled profusely.
Oh my, those are some nasty cuts you have there,
she commented with alarm. He looked at the glass pane and called out,
What happened? Why haven't you healed its wounds if you're supposed to be a doctor?
Calaballus kept a stern face as he said not a word and returned to writing on the clipboard. The pony bit her lip. The werewolf was clearly suffering, and she had to make it feel better. She spotted out of the corner of her eye a white blanket lying in a corner of the sealed room. It was a bit dirty, and she hoped clean enough as she took it up in her teeth, applied pressure with her hoof, and managed to tear a strip of cloth from the sheet. Bringing the strip back to the werewolf, she managed to tie it around the wolf's hand,
despite his yelps and growls of pain, and said his best her teeth and forearms could muster. However, the bandage was tied neatly around the werewolf's hand, and the creature finally relaxed.
There. I hope that it heals faster. You always have to be more careful where you put your hands, you know.
Yellow Pony beamed with tenderness. Werewolf then did something that neither equine expected. Lowered his head down, and playfully led Fluttershy. She giggled in glee.
Oh, you're just a big silly puppy. Such a cuddly little puppy.
She cooed as the werewolf kept clicking her out thanks. The moment was cut short when a unicorn doctor's voice began to talk inside the chamber.
Very well. I witnessed all I need. You can come out now, Fluttershy.
The door at the far end of the room opened, just as he commanded.
The pony looked back to her new friend, and gave him a warm smile as she walked outside. Calabash also left the room he was in, and took Fluttershy sternly.
Most interesting. Simply astounding. I have never seen such a capacity of communication like this in action. He mused as he started walking down the dark hallway. She gulped and wondered what was he going to do next. He then turned around, and his expression became cold and distant. This was not the same unicorn she met earlier, who graced her palate with the rarest salad in the world, and Fluttershy was scared. Your talent is deeply ingrained in your body. I have to isolate it, find its source, and even test your body stats as you healed my servant. Yet I could not gauge it. To think I sullied my magic by using a sword to cut him, but it brought nothing. Fluttershy's eyes opened wide.
Wait, you hurt your own servant on purpose? Why? Why did you do such a thing?
His eye lowered a bit, and monocle started to shine with an unnatural sheen. For science, my dear filly, to advance pony evolution. He then stomped his front leg hard, with the nerve of the pony even further. Inequality, discrimination, disparity. Who dictates what pony type a newborn bull should be born as? How can a Pegasus couple have an Earth pony foal? How can an Earth pony parents conceive unicorns and Pegasi? Why do only chosen ones, like those distasteful Philistine royals, have the gift of all three types? Nature is a cruel jokester. It is nothing more than a comedian who laughs in the face of ponies. I spit in the face of nature. Ponies have more than the capacity to be mere unicorns or Pegasi or Earth types. Those broodmares up in Catalot are proof enough that they dominate us, as we are incapable of fight, magic, and stamina like they do. It is a travesty! Mercy couldn't believe her ears over how this maverick cursed not only the princesses, but nature as well. She would have spoken up and told him to stop, but she was too afraid to do so. At this point, his well-coiffed hair began to get messy. Moustache became disarrayed and spiky, and blasts of pure hot air burst forth from his nostrils as he clenched his teeth in hatred. Unlike other false unicorns, I was blessed with my eyes opening to the truth. I am not deceived by those horned, winged freaks that sit on the thrones. I know all ponykind has the capacity to reach the same level as them, even go above it, beyond it. We are a gifted race, and yet every pony acts more like a mindless sheep that follow the flow of the course that cruel nature dictates, instead of the noble, dignified equines we are made to be. Not I. I will bring about the next step in pony evolution. I shall usher in an era where all ponies shall be one and only equal. Evil Starlight. Grand Ruler. Kudos. Boo.
But
Looked down with an evil glare at Fluttershy. Finally raised her head up, lips quivering as she tried to speak.
But what does that have to do with me? You said you only wanted to test my abilities.
His hateful gaze soon turned into a cruel smile that spread across his entire face. Indeed I did. Your ability to communicate with animals shall prove invaluable once I oscillate to genes responsible for it and add it into my next formula strain. Then lowered his head at her, was caused her to break into a cold sweat, seeing his nightmare facade. And, because I could not isolate it by simple diagnostics, I'm afraid I will have to use far more interactive measures. Yes, I can't wait to study your brain. Fluttershy gulped again.
My brain? But how could you study it as long as...
She then gasped as her pupils shrank to pinpricks, realized Season hit her, slowly shook her head in absolute terror.
No, you wouldn't. You couldn't.
Dr. Calabash slowly chuckled to himself as he clapped his foreheads together. A werewolf and a naga appeared behind him on command.
Servants, Take Miss Fluttershy to the operation room. Make sure all of my cutting implements are sterilized. I don't want to risk any foreign bacteria contaminating her organs and flesh until I have found the genetic material I am searching for. Fluttershy's eyes welled up with tears as she shook her head. No! She screamed as the two beasts pounced on her, held her tight as he took her down the hall. Screaming pleas filled their ears as he died down and disappeared altogether. Cal Palace took a deep breath and chuckled. So many experiments, so little time. Desolation. That was the only word Mare-Do-Well could think of as she finished walking along the route Sikora told her about. Saw the barren landscape before her. It changed from fearsome-looking but alive trees to completely dead gnarled ones, and the unusual grassy fields to infertile black cracked soil was instantaneous. Right there in the middle of it all, the ruins of what must have been a fruitful and happy town. Houses once lovingly built were now abandoned husks, with roofs collapsed, walls crumbled into heaps of stone and thatch. Mare-Do-Well didn't have time to dwell on this. She had to find herself missing pet and friend before things got worse. Upon reaching the town ruins, she felt a bit unnerved by the lack of noise. Only the wind constantly blew through the derelict village. Such a matter it sounded more like ghostly wails of its former inhabitants. The vigilante, and her elder self beneath her mask, felt a bit unnerved at all this. She had to find this fountain, and figure out how it would help her find Calabasas' hideout and fast. She got out through the town and came upon a strong sight. One of the walls of the dilapidated houses. She saw a strange mitten written in a panic scrawl. It must have been very old, as most of the message was worn out. She squinted hard to try and make sense of what it said. What your come family, friends, don't want to die, don't want to. This is more likely a message by one of the former townsfolk. The last words made her very uncomfortable. What could have caused the writer so much panic as to not want to die? What happened to the town? I'm sorry, I think I accidentally started reading another Fallout Equestria fic. No, Brotherhood ain't till much later. Anyway, she had more important things to worry about as finished finding the fountain. She pushed on. She eventually reached what was likely the central square of the deserted town. A large fountain served as the main point of interest as to what was once a glorious sight. In its heyday, Mare-Do-Well envisioned a fountain with beautiful, clear water rushing out of its mouth spouts, with 3 giant marble statues of an earth pony, unicorn, and Pegasus, all rearing up in majestic splendor. She saw foals, young fillies, and colts swimming around the inner basin of the fountain, while their parents looked on happy and smiling. Nature, whatever has caused the town to be forsaken, needless to say, was not kind to the once beautiful monument. The marble craftwork was faded in several areas, with visible cracks. Dirt, grime, and mold grew over it, as dead ivy wrapped around it, as though it was keeping the pony statues held back against their will. Several parts of each statue had broken off through some of the bigger cracks, such as the earth pony's tail, the tip of the unicorn's horn, and Pegasus' left wing. Looking down at the empty basin of the fountain, she saw the broken remains of these statue pieces, now shattered beyond repair. It was truly a depressing sight. Nevertheless, Mr. P said the fountain was the key to open the entrance to Calabasas' hideout. She just had to figure out how. She began to tap all around the outer part of the basin, inspected the interior, and looked carefully at each statue. Nothing. She had absolutely no idea what the way inside could be. She growled mentally as she stared at the pony statues, their tearful faces and smiles staring down at her. Deep in her mind, however, she sensed they were mocking her, insulting her abilities as a crime fighter, and she hated that she stared down with a cold, hard gaze. That's when she finally noticed it. The unicorn's horn. Despite the dirt, grime, and mold the rest of the statue was covered in, as were the other two, the horn itself looked spotless, for a statue was supposedly not cleaned for a long time. She climbed up the back of the unicorn statue and examined the horn. Some sort of crack, invisible from farther away, was around the base of the horn, where it could connect to the unicorn's head. Mare-Do-Well placed her hoof on the unicorn horn and pushed down. The horn leaned down with a rusty squeak and loud click. To her surprise, the entire fountain began to slide, wrapped her hose around the marble unicorn to hang on. Seconds later, the fountain stopped moving, and she jumped back down to the ground level to see what happened. Bingo! There was a hole with a very old staircase carved out of rock, spiraled down to the ground. The fountain was carefully placed above it to hide it from view. Now she was getting somewhere. However, the fountain began to slowly slide back into place, and the masked pony knew she had no time to waste. She trotted straight up to the staircase. It began to descend the first few steps as the fountain closed over her head and it enveloped in darkness. Mare-Do-Well's eyes slowly accustomed themselves to pitch-black surroundings and caught a glimpse of a very dim light source, current location. With slow, steady steps, she made her way down the spiraling steps, only to crush something beneath her hoof, something very brittle. She lowered her eyes to focus on what little light there was at the bottom to see what she had crushed, only to jump back in shock. A skull! She looked back at the steps below her and saw several equine skeletons. Most of them were earth ponies, including the skulls she had just crushed. But there were a few earth unicorn and pegasi remains, judging by the horns on the skulls and pieces of the wing bones on their back. She bit her lip, seeing some of these bones, obviously of fillies and very young foals. This must have been a shelter of some kind, what the former inhabitants of the town must have built, with a fountain on its door, to hide from the dangers and disasters. However, judging from the amount of skeletons, they must have all perished here with no hope of salvation. Normally, our heir herself would have been traumatized to tears by the sight of all the unfortunate ponies. But she was on a mission. She had to find Fluttershy and Gummy. She finally reached the end of the stairs, and had to blink twice to see if her eyes weren't playing tricks on her. The light source came from a large hole in the wall that led to a wide hallway with a few torches placed in the holes, hewn into the wall, that led into another enormous opening at the far end. She looked at the floor as this passage, and noted that this was covered in hard cement, unlike the dirt and hay covering the flooring of the rest of the staircase. This was obviously not part of the original shelter. Definitely the work of some pony who took over the area and modified it. She had no idea what to expect, considering how large and wide the opening and hallway beyond it were. But as always, she had to find out. The hallway, reaching from being large and dimly lit, appeared to travel downward, going far below the surface of the earth. Once she reached the doorway at the opposite side, and leaned her head to have a good look around, she realized why it descended. The room the hallway led to was outrageously large, more than openings in the hallway preceding it. Judging by the placement of the cavernous ceiling above, it was more than some 30 feet tall and far below the surface. The room itself was somewhat square-shaped, and hard stone walls making up the side holes hewn into a place of more torches, giving the area some illumination. Like facelessly cement floor strewn about below. She noticed something odd about the ceiling, though. She made what appeared to be holes, all carved into the rock. More than likely, this was made way from air outside, filtered down below, to bring a breathable atmosphere to the areas below. What caught her attention was a much smaller opening on the far end of the tall chamber, with two gigantic Nagas guarding the door at opposite ends. Putting two together, Mare-Do-Well deduced these Nagas, as well as the giant werewolf Beat, were more than likely guards to Calabasas's hideout. The area beyond the smaller opening led to his lair, while this chamber and the hallway before it was built to accommodate their tremendous size, but not enough to enter the facilities themselves. That, at least, was some welcome relief. She wasn't going to find any more giant monsters inside. She carefully studied her two opponents before her. Despite looking alike, none of the Nagas had some of its neck skin used its hood to create and stretched out. That one was certainly the Naga she used as a rodeo bronco, which layer hypnotized her into a trance later in the day. Now the danger had been doubled. Mare-Do-Well faced a dilemma. Sneaking past them was out of the question, since there was nowhere for her to hide, and these two didn't look like the types to move away from their post. Their sleeping gas and smoke bottles were far too small for them to be thrown up to connect to be any use. Fighting them out in the open was sure to attract the attention of guards outside. There was only one option left, and she loved it. First, she had to become bait. Naga's eyes gazed momentarily as his partner with his hood outstretched and saw it rub its belly with a displeased look on its face. The former merely shook his head until his ears began to vibrate. Both serpentines looked down at the right one, especially having his eyes wide open in surprise. Mare-Do-Well looked up at him, turned herself around, and wiggled her rump at the two bewildered creatures in defiance. She then turned back and pulled her mask just a few inches up to reveal Pinkie Pie's snout as he blew them a loud raspberry. The right Naka was incensed at the meal that got away, taunting him, and charged forward to catch her. Vigilante slipped the mask back down and trotted away as fast as her host could take her. The remaining guard flicked his tongue out and quickly chased after its partner before he could eat what it declared now to be its rightful snack. She felt an enormous lump to her throat as he heard the guard slithering behind her. Why did she do it? She could never help to outrun two fully grown and genetically enhanced Nagas, but she had to put in the effort. She could lead both Nagas to the original town shelter room below the fountain. She could easily lose them in the obscurity area and slipped inside before any pony or anyone could see her. Hopefully, it would be as simple as he planned it. She smiled beneath her mask as he approached the end of the hallway and returned to the darkness. Quickly, she made her way up to the staircase, stopped a few feet in the middle as the Nagas appeared. The duo swung their heads around, trying to locate her in the pitch-black room, much to their anger and hunger. They then faced one another and nodded in unison. Mare-Do-Well raised an eyebrow, wondering what they were up to. One of the Nagas laid down near the bottom step and eyed the other one in radius. The second Naga immediately extended its coils up until its head nearly hit the ceiling and placed its head near the first step. Once they were positioned, the serpentine creatures slowly flicked their tongues out and feel around the step, despite the dark surroundings they were in. Sensing no prey, they went to the next step above and below them respectively. Repeat the process. Mare-Do-Well had to hand it to them. They were cleverer than she thought, but she wasn't done yet. As soon as the bottom Naga saw flicking its tongue around the step below her own, Mare-Do-Well waited for the moment for the snake monster to lift his head. She again leapt into the air and lighted on his head, tugging hard on the next skin flaps as he loosened before. Its hisses of anguish were enough to alert his comrade, and it too went on the offensive. Mare-Do-Well saw the gaping maw of the other Naga close in on her. Just a few seconds more, her altered sense self kicked in just in time as he quickly looked up in the air to see the attacking Naga sink its fangs into the other one, making it hiss loudly again. The latter, angered at being bitten, used one of its massive arms to grab the neck of the former, smashed his head against the floor. The other countered with a massive swipe in his tail, smacked his partner right out the face. Both didn't care anymore for the pony, with thoughts of proving their superiority over the other in combat. Mare-Do-Well left it too proud, yet dumb creatures to continue beating themselves up, quickly raced back down the passage, through the large antechamber, and entered the doorway they were once guarding. The entrance led to another hallway, albeit smaller, with a few doors along the way. She kept walking forward, and could hear both heavy footsteps, and shuffling drag of a legless body against the cement floor all around her. The place was crawling with werewolves and Nagas. She certainly didn't want to face any, even if they weren't as big as the ones she faced before. Feeling the presence of no threat nearby, she quickly secluded herself in a spot that the torches were not illuminating, and began to meditate again. She thought meditation would again help accentuate her senses, just like before, but she couldn't focus her concentration whatsoever. She was far too angry, and her mind was too preoccupied with worry and anguish over both Gummy and Fluttershy. Failing to do so, she decided to wing it. She removed her skirts, hoping she would find those two on her own. After finding a dining room, a kitchen with a strange Naga dressed as a cook, was too busy cutting up some vegetables to notice her pink inside. Several patrolling lycanthropes and snake beasts, as she had faded by hiding in dark spots, with torches didn't light up. Looking inside what she assumed to be the servants' barracks, she eventually found a door, guarded both a regular-sized werewolf and a Naga standing at the opposite sides. Before she could comprehend what they were guarding, she heard it. A muffled scream of a familiar voice. The terrifying ones the tones of a kindly yellow Pegasus when she felt the danger. She was in there. The mere thought Fluttershy was about to undergo one of the procedures Twilight told her altered self about back at the hospital was enough to make Mare-Do-Well throw caution to the wind. She was done being formal. It was time to kick flank. She broke off into a furious gallop as she approached the door, and the two guards were alerted to her presence. The beast rushed forward to smack the interloper. Mare-Do-Well slammed her forelegs on the ground, allowing her to flip forward and launched her entire body with both hind legs sliding together in a drill kick that connected with the Naga and took it down in one strike. The werewolf was a far trickier opponent, as it swung forward with its muscular arms. Vigilante hopped around, avoiding the claw swipes that made the werewolf angrier. Seizing strategy to now add 4 lunges with its head to bite her when it swings along the ground, predicting the feral foe's strategy. As he jumped up into the air, as it lunged forward, leapfrog over the werewolf's head, slender head down, covering its eyes completely. The blinded beast snarled as he couldn't see its opponent with the head over its head, and slung its arms and hand trying to find her. The smug pony croused loud as it approached. It quickly ran circles around her enemy, making certain to wrap her dark blue cape over its legs as it ran. The werewolf yelped as it lost balance with its legs, wrapped around the cape, and fell forward on its face. Mare-Do-Well quickly unwrapped her cape from its legs and took a tremendous leap in the air. Tucked her body in, and cannonballed right into the werewolf's head with a sounding crack. Picking up her hat from the now unconscious lycanthrope's head, she returned to the door and kicked it open with one good buck of her legs. She was immediately greeted by a powerful blast of dark blue magic that sent her to a wall nearby and knocked her out cold. Under the gallows went through the door, horn crackling with dark magic spots, lowered his eyes to the comatose figure beneath him. He turned to see Fluttershy strapped to the table, shaking in fear and eyes filled with tears. Turned back to the now unconscious vigilante and guards. Time for his executioner to fade. The Legend of Mare-Do-Well will resume.